name's Diane Anderson. I've been doing artwork most of my life, even as a little child, because I started with eye therapy at the Children's Hospital, sketching, believe it or not. I do bronze sculptures primarily, oil paintings, and acrylic paintings as well. Sometimes it'll be an animal, whether here or anywhere, that'll just do something that'll spark a story in my head, and inevitably I pick something out of that. I do commission pieces, so those commissions of specific animals, specific horses, but mostly I just let the ideas come to me, and they do. Spruce Meadows, I've shown there through the Masters for 33 years. Spruce Meadows has been one of the biggest incentives in my career as far as variety, the ability to meet so many different people in different genres, both in the horse world, in general population, just curious and love what they see at Spruce Meadows, inevitably trickles down. Again, with Spruce Meadows, offering such a variety of people and interest in people, I have branched out into a little more mystical line. So the unicorns, the Pegasus, the mystical stories, and that has allowed me to create and use my imagination a little bit more. But I think just letting it flow and letting it be what it is for me.
The hardware symbolic of international show jumping supremacy at the Spruce Meadows Masters.
Well, action continues this evening with part 2 of our documentary series, The Masters, 2000 to 2008. Following that, we'll go to the Fan Choice BMO Nations Cup from 2018. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow with more of the Spruce Meadows Masters at Home, where we'll focus on the richest Grand Prix in show jumping.
Welcome to the 1976 Spruce Meadows Masters, and this afternoon we'll be featuring highlights of the
Ian Miller and Big Ben, our 1991 Limited.
Are you ready?
I hope so, Ian. This is going to be really exciting.
These are the weeks we live for. This is what you get up every morning and you work your butt off for and try to get the job done. I mean, this is what it's all about.
Well, it's an amazing arena. It's a beautiful arena. On the weekend, the crowds are just amazing. When you go underneath the clock tower and you're for a big class, don't really matter who you are nervous. It's just the way it is. And if you're not telling the truth, because I know you are.
The Masters at Spruce Meadows in Western Canada draws crowds and athletes from around the world. Hundreds compete for millions of dollars, while hundreds of thousands crowd the tournament grounds to catch a glimpse of history. It's the sport's biggest annual weekend, a weekend that began from a modest start in the mid-70s with a dream to bring the best show jumping to the city of Calgary and to bring Calgary to the rest of the world.
Does it again.
In the mid-1970s, Spruce Meadows was about 5 miles south of Calgary, Alberta, an oil town in Western Canada most famous for its cowboy culture. Show jumping was practiced at stables in the area, a region based on a culture of horse enthusiasts. Ron and Marg Southern built Spruce Meadows as a way to provide opportunities for show jumpers who otherwise needed to travel abroad to compete at a high level. The Spruce Meadows Masters, a tournament held every September, quickly became the biggest weekend in show jumping worldwide. As required by the governing body of show jumping, the FEI, the tournament included a team competition as well as an individual Grand Prix.
Good round. A clear round, but a time full.
BMO, a Canadian financial institution, has sponsored the Nations Cup since the first one in 1977. The competition has hosted international legends, teams from around the globe. The British dominated those early competitions, winning half of the Nations Cups in the first 20 years.
The Bank of Montreal Nations Cup 1996 champions.
Du Maurier backed the Grand Prix, titled the International from 1981 to 2000, creating the largest purse in show jumping history. The British also dominated this competition, again winning half of the first 20 competitions. Times changed by 2000. The British were winning fewer events as the field grew more and more varied. American, Irish, German, and Brazilian riders had won the International.
To Rodrigo Pessoa of Brazil.
Dutch, Irish, French, and German teams had claimed the BMO Nations Cup.
The Bank of Montreal Nations Cup to Team Germany, 1999 champions.
Thank you.
The turn of the century was Ireland's chance to take home their second and third trophy wins. First in 2000, and then again in 2001, both with chef d'équipe Eddie Mackin, who had ridden at Spruce Meadows since the late 70s.
Ireland reigns supreme.
The crowds had grown from hundreds to tens of thousands. Calgary had almost doubled in size, 800,000 strong by the turn of the century. Neighborhoods now stood across the highway from Spruce Meadows, no longer a 20-minute ride from the city. In the world of sponsorship, BMO continued its relationship with Spruce Meadows, increasing prize money as Spruce Meadows grew, from a modest purse in 1977 to $100,000 in prize money in 2000.
For a great reward today, $85,000 to take back to Germany, and I will now take it in trust.
Canadian government legislation put an end to tobacco sponsorship, and Du Maurier ended its long relationship with Spruce Meadows, paving the way for new partnerships in the corporate community. Nortel stepped up for a short time and provided an opportunity for Brazil to take home the international trophy for a second year in a row. As it so often does, the 2001 International came down to a final few top riders. Ludger Beerbaum was sitting on a clear round with Gladys S. Beerbaum had won team gold at the Sydney Olympic Games a year earlier and was hoping this would be the year he took the International home. He rode clear, but was carrying 4 faults from the first round. 2 riders were left. First up, defending champion Rodrigo Pessoa. Gandini Llanos rode perfectly. With a clear round on the scorecard, Pessoa was 1 rider away from winning a second international title. Beerbaum was out. A second victory looked possible. American Lauren Huff and Classico were the final ones in the ring. No stranger to winning, this duo had come from a top 20 place at the Olympics the year before and were making a name for themselves across the North American circuit. They were clear for the first half of the course, but were a little too aggressive heading into the double Liverpools. A single rail was all Pessoa needed. A second win for the pair. the first time anyone had won back-to-back internationals on the same horse.
And for the first time, hoist the Nortel Networks International into the history books we go, ladies and gentlemen. Rodrigo Pessoa of Brazil.
For me, Spruce Meadows is the best venue in the world. Whether it's an older rider like myself or a young rider, I think it's an invaluable experience to come here and compete and be part of it and be part of the atmosphere that this place has and the spirit that it offers. It really makes horses and riders better.
Spruce Meadows is very special because every competition is treated like a very important one. Let's put it this way, I try to work in every place like I work here, which means to really try to do a nice job in every competition, even in the 1 meter or in the Grand Prix.
With the end of the Nortel International in 2001, it was time for another sponsor to step in for the International. A visit to Spruce Meadows in 2000 had impressed CN management with its potential for community involvement, as well as its capabilities for branding CN in the almost 100 countries Spruce Meadows was now reaching through its television arrangements. When the opportunity presented itself, CN quickly stepped in to become the new face of the International. Ludger Beerbaum and Goldfever had won the Grand Prix at Aachen earlier in 2002 and had a team gold medal at the 2000 Olympic Games. Having won just about every competition medal available, he had never won the International. 3 times Beerbaum had placed second, watching someone else hoist the International trophy.
It's a classical Grand Prix. It's a great prestige to be one of them who's won it. And all the really good, great riders have won it, and I'm really missing that one.
On paper, the 2002 CN International looked like it would be a contest between 2 superstars of show jumping, Beerbaum and the defending champion Rodrigo Pessoa. Pessoa was third to go. He was clear till fence 11, but took out 2 fences, which effectively put him out of the competition. It ended up a showdown among 3 riders, American Molly Ash, Beerbaum, and Canadian Ian Miller, who had won the event twice, most recently in 1991, 11 years before. Miller was third last to go in round 2. Carrying no faults, he and Aftershock looked like they might join the ranks of 3-time winners of the International. There were 3 riders tied at 4 faults, so Miller had to ride a clean round to stay on top. They put in a great round, crossing the finish line with a single time fault. They were in the lead. Two riders left. Beerbaum was next. He was also sitting on a clear scorecard. If he took his time, he could match Miller's time fault and force a jump off. But Ash was still waiting to go, so the only way he could guarantee either a win or a jump off spot would be with a clear round. More than 2 seconds under the time allowed, he was at the top of the standings with 1 rider to go. Miller was out. Ash would have to go clear to force a jump off. It looked like it might go to a jump-off. Her horse Lutopia had been riding strong all season, and after their clear performance in round 1, they were in a great position to challenge Ludger to a jump-off. Four faults. Down the standings to 3rd place, and Beerbaum could finally add the International to his list of wins. CN's sponsorship of the International was off to a running start, a win for Beerbaum and the beginning of one of the most significant sponsorships in show jumping history.
Well, winning the CN International, it was one of the greatest moments I had in my career. It was something I was waiting for so long and trying so hard, and I was kind of getting to the point where I thought maybe this is something I won't achieve. It made me feel really, really good. Not just for the moment, even for a few weeks.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's won virtually everything there is to win in the world of show jumping and waited 17 years to be here on Sunday afternoon at the Masters. The champion of the CN International, the great Ludger Beerbaum of Germany. An absolutely extraordinary horseman with a wonderful partner. For one of the great traditions of international.
In 2003, the German winning streak continued at Spruce Meadows. The 2003 Nations Cup was their 5th BMO Nations Cup win, and the winning didn't stop there. The next day, a showdown between the US and Germany at the CN International echoed the competition from the year before. Otto Becker on Dobel Cento rode 8th in round 2, crossing the finish line with the first clear of the day. 3 riders followed, all with 4 or 5 faults, and the last rider to go, Molly Ash, looked like she might force a jump off. Ash took out the last jump and handed the victory to Germany. It was Becker's 2nd win, Germany's 4th.
Hoist the most coveted piece of hardware in international show jumping. Ladies and gentlemen, the CN International 2003, Otto Becker of Germany.
Spruce Meadows is definitely the best show jumping venue in the world. There's nothing like it. You know, the best horses and riders in the world, 50,000, 60,000 people. It's really major league.
I just get excited every time I come here. I mean, I really do. It doesn't matter if it's pouring rain, thunder and lightning, and mud everywhere. It just gives me goosebumps to come up here. I love this place.
Germany came out on top once again in 2004. By now, Spruce Meadows was hosting thousands of visitors every Masters. Fans crowded grounds, now being referred to as a Camelot on the edge of the city of Calgary. A Festival of Nations celebrated the mixture of cultures of Western Canada. Many of those cultures were from countries that had competed in the BMO Nations Cup. Traditional pageantry provided a magnificent backdrop while the stands were filled to capacity for another edition of the famous BMO Nations Cup. The usual mix of superstars were at Spruce Meadows for the competition. The Canadians were there, led by anchor rider Ian Miller. In the hitching ring, Ludger Beerbaum signed autographs. The competition started with Germany taking the lead and never letting go. By the end of round 1, Germany had 0 faults, the US had 4, and Great Britain was a distant third with 16. Round 2 didn't change much. While the wheels came off for the Americans, almost putting themselves in 3rd place, Germany continued its solid performance. From leadoff rider Meredith Michaels Beerbaum, top performances kept coming. The pair rode 2 clear rounds, a sign of how they'd sit at the top of the world standings just a few years later. Eric Lamaze and Ian Miller put Canada in 3rd, but no one could match Germany. Even a couple of rails by Christian Allman didn't change their position.
And now, as you did in 1977, as you did in 2004 to defend your title, Zunka Zungson and Bill Down, I invite you to step forward right now and hoist one of the most coveted pieces of hardware in international show jumping, the BMO Financial Group Nations Cup Trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, to Germany.
A 6th Nations Cup for Germany, defending champions, proving to the world their dominance. The next day was Belgium's day. No Belgian had won the CN International, and the brilliant stallion Kumano, ridden by Joost Lansing, was coming into his own. He ate up the course, making the jumps look like a training ride. The pair finished their round with a time fault, so left the door open for the 4 riders who came after them. It came down to the last rider, Rodrigo Pessoa on Balubé de Rouet, who took out jump 4 to put the win in Lansing's hands.
To hoist the hardware, the dream of every rider in the world today, it's Joost Lansing's dream to Belgium, the CN International title, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a first for Belgium and a first for Lansing. Kumano would go on to win the World Championships 2 years later, putting himself in the history books as one of the top horses to ever compete. Thunder and lightning, mud and rain. 2005 was a record year for the city of Calgary. 3 times the amount of rain than average fell in the month of June. Flooding drove hundreds of families from their homes, and Spruce Meadows saw some of the wettest show jumping it had ever hosted. While the weather cleared for the late summer, there was one more day of rain to top off an incredibly rainy year. That day was Saturday, September 10th. Following the Friday evening competitions, where snow mixed in with rain, Saturday settled into a steady downpour that didn't let up all day. 3 inches in 24 hours. The first round of the BMO Nations Cup ended with Great Britain in the lead. The Dutch were in second, with Canada, the US, and Germany all tied for third. Then, the competition stopped. Exasperated by the rain, which had yet to let up, and citing horse and rider safety as the reasons, the team's chef d'équipe gave notice their teams would no longer compete. Despite a last-ditch effort by officials who had modified the course to satisfy their own concerns, the teams still refused to ride. In an unprecedented move, the competition was suspended after round 1, with no team completing both rounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am terribly disappointed to tell you that the competition is over. The chef d'équipes of the teams feel that to bring their riders in here places them at jeopardy. I've never been in this position before, so I'm not just sure what to say to you, except that I'm very, very sorry.
The crowds filed out, having witnessed a strange bit of history they would not soon forget. The official scorecard reads, no nations competed 2 rounds. The next day, the sun came out. 49 horse-rider combinations were on the start list for the CN International, including Canadian Eric Lamaze on a 9-year-old stallion named Hickstead. They would have to wait another 2 years before their incredible run at the top of the sport, but a clear round put them into round 2, along with 12 others who had gone clear. As usual, round 2 whittled down the competition. 6th rider in was 3-time champion Nick Skelton on Arco. After 2 other riders had single time faults, Skelton put in a clean round. 4 riders later, American star BZ Madden on Judgment put in a second clear round as well. It would go to a jump-off. Last in was Lamaze. He looked like he joined Madden and Skelton in the jump-off, but got caught by the final fence. It was down to Nick Skelton and BZ Madden. Skelton was first.
He's coming in now. Let's just wait and salute our first rider in the jump-off, Nick Skelton from Great Britain on number 216, Arco.
a clear round. Madden was next on Judgment. Judgment was Madden's go-to horse who always seemed to perform best at Spruce Meadows. His massive stride belied his speed, and they crossed the finish line 2 seconds faster than Skelton. Madden now had an international title to add to her Olympic medal. For the first time in 8 years, the CN International had gone to the United States. Spruce Meadows hoisted the Stars and Stripes to close another record Masters.
And hoist the hardware with Ed Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, BZ Madden of the United States lifts the most coveted Grand Prix trophy in show jumping, the CN International.
We're so grateful for a facility like Spruce Meadows and the kind of shows they run, because they are truly at the world-class level that embody what it really is like to jump at the top. And there's a real shortage of that in North America. It's been a big factor in allowing our riders to experience top-level competition.
We're very lucky as Canadians to have this place in Canada, and it's always fun to come here because it's always a thrill to come in every arena that you show in. Everything is beautiful and great competition. I would say it's one of the nicest places in the world to show.
2006 was another threshold year. As Calgary's population crossed the 1 million mark, Spruce Meadows explored further partnerships with the neighbors who now surrounded the facility. Transportation, parkland, community investing brought new concepts into the well-established benefits loop. Partners were invited to explore the future of Spruce Meadows. At the Masters, the crowds descended on Spruce Meadows to witness what would be one of the most exciting Nations Cups in the history of the event. The stands were filled to capacity as the riders walked the course. It became clear early that the event was becoming a showdown between the historical masters of the event, the British, and Canada's hometown heroes who had never before won the event. Both teams were cast from the same mold. Each had a pair of veterans, Nick Skelton and Michael Whitaker for the British, Ian Miller and Mario Delorier for the Canadians. Each team had an experienced and capable rider in Mark Armstrong and John Pierce. Both teams also had an up-and-coming promising young rider to round out the team. Team Britain had Ellen Whitaker, and Canada rested its hopes on the young rider Aaron Ballard. By the end of round 1, the British were leading with 5 faults. Canada was in second with 9. In round 2, the difficulty was ramped up, which became apparent when Canada's first rider, Mario Delorier, had a rail. Britain's lead rider, Nick Skelton, came through to increase the British lead with a clear round. Rookie Canadian Ballard brushed a rail, but by sheer luck it stayed up. A clear round kept Canada in the hunt. Britain's Mark Armstrong also had a clear round to put even more pressure on the Canadians. But John Pierce responded with a clear round of his own. The young Whitaker had a more difficult time of things in the second round and had 2 rails. And when Ian Miller of Canada rode a clear round of his own in answer, it all came down to one rider. If Whitaker could ride a clear round, the British would win their 11th Nations Cup at Spruce Meadows. If he had one rail, it would go to a jump-off. Whitaker came out strong, clean until the bicycle jump. It proved to be his undoing, his only jump down, forcing the very rare Nations Cup jump-off. The two teams chose their rider for the jump-off, both going for the veteran rider, hoping experience would be the answer to the new course being laid out by the Spruce Meadows jump crew. The hopes of Canada's first win lay on the shoulders of Ian Miller. Disaster at the combination. It would take a miracle to win now as Michael Whitaker entered the ring. As Miller waited in the hitching ring expecting the worst, Whitaker made his first mistake. A light rub on the big brown vertical seemed harmless, but the rail fell and suddenly changed the competition. It was now down to who had the fastest time. But a second rail at the BMO combination meant it was game over. The Canadians had finally won the BMO Nations Cup at Spruce Meadows.
Imagine! 31 years it took us.
It's been a long time coming. We'd never won at Spruce Meadows, and it was a big victory for us. It was very exciting. You could see all the fans were very excited too. It was an incredible moment for the fans and for us. To win this Nations Cup here last year was a great moment for Canada.
Oh, it was fantastic. We've been trying to win this Nations Cup, the BMO Financial Nations Cup, for years and years, and it just never has come together for us. We've been close a few times, and you could tell by the crowd reaction and everybody else's reaction. People are still talking about it. It was a very big deal for everybody, including us.
How about that for sports drama? Canada jumps to victory in the BMO Financial Group Nations Cup, led by chef de keep Torchy Miller. I'm going to invite you and Bill on behalf of Team Canada to step forward for the first time and hoist the Nations Cup. Team Canada, ladies and gentlemen, led by Torchy Miller.
The year of firsts continued the next day at the CN International, when a surprise win by France's Eugénie Angot on her first trip to Spruce Meadows shocked everyone, most of all her. A clear first round aboard her 16-year-old mare Segal du Talis put her into the second round as one of the slowest clears. She finished with a time fault, leaving the door open for 4 heavy hitters that followed. But when Ian Miller, the last rider in, joined the ranks of those who'd taken a rail in the second round, the win was Angot's. Absolutely stunned, Angot took the CN International title to France for the first time. The CN International at the Spruce Meadows Masters had now been won by riders from 8 different countries.
I've shown all over the world, and I've seen times here that I didn't think were possible. And that comes from top horses, top footing, fantastic environment, good course designers, great management, the list goes on and on.
When you have a chance to go out there and win on a nice day at Spruce Meadows, it's the top. The fans are here, the show jumping is top. It's the best place to be.
Trust and invite Bill down and Sunka Songson to step forward and hoist the Nations Cup. So much part of the tradition here at Spruce Meadows as the team comes through the clock
In
tower.
2007, Germany walked away with its 7th BMO Nations Cup win.
Team Germany.
The Germans had now established themselves as a dominant force in team competition. It was a sunny day for the 2007 CN International. 60,000 fans gathered on the grounds to watch history in the making. The international ring boasted the best grass footing in the world. One of 6 grass rings on the Spruce Meadows properties, it was the face of Spruce Meadows to millions of viewers around the world. For many of them, it defined show jumping. Course designer Leopoldo Palacios challenged the riders in his last major design before the 2008 Beijing Olympics, where much of the same field would compete. World champion Jos Lansing walked the course with Eric Lamaze, who was now back near the top of the sport after failed drug tests had almost ended his career 3 times. Nick Skelton was also back at the top of his game after almost ending his career with a broken neck in 2001. Nearing the end of round 2, the 2004 champion was clearing the jumps easily. With a single time fault leading the way, Lansing had to go clear to take the lead. But the second last jump caught him, and the Union Jack jump came down. Lansing fell to second place with 2 riders still to go. Lamaze was next. He'd been in the top 20 the past 2 years in this competition and had hardly had a rail all year in 2007. It had been 16 years since a Canadian had won, when Big Ben and Ian Miller were champions in 1991. Lamaze and Hickstead cleared the Union Jack and were headed towards the last jump on a clear round. Clear. Lamaze had put in the first double clear of the day. There was still 1 rider to go, however, so Lamaze hadn't won just yet. That last rider was Nick Skelton on Arco. They could force a jump off with Lamaze if they could hold on to a clear round. It looked like they might. They rode clear until the double of Liverpool's by the in-out gate. A refusal, 4 faults, and Lamaze had the title. It was a moment of redemption, a story that set the stage for Lamaze's win at the Olympics the following year.
It's a class that every rider's dream of winning once. If you're lucky enough to do it 2 or 3 times, as some riders have done it, it's fantastic. But for me to win it once on that horse means a lot, and I don't think he's made his last appearance in that class. I think he's got plenty more years left to do in the CN. But at least he's done it once, and it was amazing. It's maybe the biggest title of my career. It's any rider's dream to win that class.
To the Spruce Meadows Masters, your champion of the CN International, Canada's Eric Lamaze, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is an emotional win for me for sure, and to win a tournament of this magnitude here with the riders behind me, it's a dream come true for me.
The richest payday in show jumping, ladies and gentlemen, $325,000 to Eric Lamaze and his great stallion Hickstead.
"2008 was a year of records, a year of new standards, new levels in Canadian show jumping. It was the first time Canada had medaled at the Olympics in 36 years, the first individual gold Canada had ever won in the sport. The Spruce Meadows Masters took place only a couple of weeks after the Olympics, with record crowds showing up in the beautiful weather to take part in a Masters that would set more records. Over 200,000 fans here to watch the top athletes in the world compete for over $2 million. The BMO Nations Cup was setting up to be the biggest Nations Cup event in its history. Thousands crowded the grounds, lining up for autographs from Olympic teams. A generation had now grown up with Spruce Meadows, show jumping a part of their everyday life. Heading into the weekend, the American team was at the top of their game, having won gold at the Olympics. The Canadian team had won silver. In all, the top 7 teams from the Beijing Games were competing in the BMO Nations Cup.
There's always been call it a pressure. The hometown crowd at Spruce Meadows is a very knowledgeable, sophisticated crowd, and they know exactly what they're looking at. And you can just feel it when you're on the whole day here. You can feel, everybody looks at you and you know what they're thinking. We want Canada to win. So we all know that very well. And if you call that a pressure, we probably would call it a motivator.
The Canadian team in the last 3 years, for sure, maybe 4, but in the last 3 years have been very competitive around the world. Florida circuit to the California circuit to Europe to here, international classes or in the summer tournament, and with the win that Canada had in the Nations Cup here. Last year, again, a good result. We went to Europe. We had some great result in Europe, and then to finish it at the Olympic. I think now we really established ourselves, as Ian said, on the international stage as a team to recognize.
Team Canada was now recognized on the international stage, and the BMO Nations Cup was a central part of that stage. The first round established Germany as the clear leader, while all the other contenders shared rough starts. Canada's Jill Henselwood pulled a rail, as did second rider Jonathan Aslan. The Americans didn't fare much better, as lead-off rider Lauren Huff had a rail. The world champion Dutch team had the roughest start of all the teams, when veteran Piet Raymakers plowed through the final fence to put himself out of competition for the rest of the day. 3 consecutive clear rounds put Germany at the top of the standings. Marcus Enning looked as cool as the rest of his team as he comfortably rode Plot Blue to the team's 3rd clear round. They hit the last rail, but it stayed up, and Germany stayed at the top of the standings. Alois Pohlmann-Schweckhorst, the team's anchor rider, elected not to ride in round 1, a decision that would come back to haunt them in the 2nd round. The 2nd round was off to a rough start for the Canadians and Americans once again. Lauren Huff doubled her rail count, knocking down 2 for 8 faults. Things also fell apart for Jill Henselwood, giving Canada a dozen faults with her 2nd round. But things started to go wrong for the Germans as well. 2 of their 3 clear rounds from round 1 turned into 4 fault rounds in round 2. And while they seemed to fade, the Americans and Canadians started to pull things together. Clear rounds by Eric Lamaze and Ian Miller suddenly bumped Canada into a tie for 2nd place. And 2 clear rounds by the Americans put them in a race for 1st with Germany. It came down to the American anchor rider, Rich Fellers. If he could pull off a clear round, he would force Germany either to 2nd place or a jump-off. He went clear, and all the pressure went to Germany's Pohlmann-Schweckhorst. With Germany's clear scorecard from the 1st round, Pohlmann-Schweckhorst was the only rider in the field who had not yet ridden the course. Germany's choice to have him sit the 1st round out caught up at the combination, where Lord Lewis touched the vertical and put the Germans in a tie for 2nd. The U.S. had won.
Ladies and gentlemen, another historic day at the Spruce Meadows Masters. The champions of the BMO Nations Cup and the Olympic champions of 2008 from the United States, George Morris's equestrian team.
Another win for George Morris and the American team. Gold at the Olympics, gold at Spruce Meadows. It was the team's 7th win at the BMO Nations Cup, and with the depth of the American field, it looked like it wouldn't be their last. Canada came in second, a 3-way tie.
The nicest thing is you see things change every year. They never say, it's good enough, it's good enough. It's just better and better every year. They find something to improve on. It's just a wonderful, magical place.
They're always building something else for the sport. More courses, more designer, better paddocks. So every time I come here, there's always something new and better. It's like the Disneyland of horses.
Sunday of the Masters promised to set more records. 64,000 crowded onto the grounds to watch a showdown between defending champion Eric Lamaze and the rest of the world. Fresh off his Olympic win, Lamaze felt the Masters was just as important.
They're both very demanding. One, you get a gold medal, which means the world to you, and one, you get a really big checks if it goes your way. Any shows of this magnitude, like here in Aachen or the Olympic, it's always, as a rider, there's a certain amount of stress. You know the feeling that you're going to feel, and you deal with it as you go. When you're getting close, you want the CN just as much as you would win you want that gold medal. I mean, it's just same feeling.
This attitude reflected the world's attitude. The best athletes in the world now lease or own property near Spruce Meadows. Spruce Meadows, while built with a mandate to provide young riders from the West to compete at an international level, now has to turn away riders every year. Charters fly in from around the world carrying the best horses and riders. This level of sport creates a culture of show jumping around Calgary, where show jumping has become a permanent part of the landscape. That culture extends to over 100 countries, with Spruce Meadows Television sending the sport through major sport networks around the world. The CN International in 2008 began as it was now always starting to begin, with a packed house and the top qualified riders. The showdown this time was a similar showdown from 2007. Joost Lansink and Kumano finished the first round with a time fault, but easily putting themselves into the second round of 12. National hero Eric Lamaze, defending champion and now a home crowd favorite, put in a faster, clear round. And Nick Skelton, who had stopped out the year before to let Lamaze gallop away with the trophy, was also into the second round on a clear scorecard. The new rider in the mix was Mexican Jaime Escarraga, a veteran rider on Presley Boy. The second round saw a clean performance by Lansink and Kumano. But while they cleared every jump easily, they were slow between the jumps and ended their round with a total of 3 time faults on their scorecard. Lamaze and Hickstead were next. The hometown crowd followed every jump with the pair. They put in a typical clear performance, but were caught by the last jump. A repeat wasn't in the cards. This meant Lansing was ahead in the standings, but there were still 2 riders to go. Skelton was next. He and Arco had skipped the Olympics to arrive rested and prepared for this competition. If they could hold it together, they'd put themselves ahead of Lansing with 1 rider left. They did, a little over the time allowed, but a single time fault put them in first place for the time being. Last rider to go, Jaime Ezcurraga, would win if he could ride clear. He was clear until the black CN planks. A rail down, and Skelton won.
The expression, to be great, you have to last. The 2008 CN International Champion, his 4th victory in this event, Nick Skelton of Great Britain.
Another first in the Spruce Meadows International Ring, a 4-time champion of the CN International.
I think the more that I've come here and seen this class, to me it's always a special class to win. Still the best class to win for me. And I think probably a lot of the riders will agree that, because it's never easy, but it's always a tough class.
A fitting end to the 2008 Masters, a British rider setting another record. The country that had dominated the Spruce Meadows International Ring for so many years was back on top. In 1975, a stable was built on a piece of property outside the city of Calgary. Regional competitions brought the best riders from Western Canada to the venue, and international competitions brought the best riders in the world. A unique partnership with corporate sponsors allowed the facility to form a benefits loop, where sponsorship dollars attracted the best riders. Those riders attracted the media. The media attracted the crowds and provided opportunities and benefits for all. Some 35 years later, the original riding hall is surrounded by competition rings, new buildings, grandstands, and new neighborhoods. A full-time staff and hundreds of volunteers keep the facility running. Over 500,000 people visit the site annually. Over 16,000 rounds are jumped every year. The International Ring now sits 9 inches higher than it did in 1976, with over 30 years of root growth and earth slowly building it into some of the best footing in the world. A slow but steady progress to the top. Every September, the Spruce Meadows Masters attracts the best in the sport and hundreds of thousands of fans. They come for show jumping, the best show jumping the world has to offer.
I can teach a horse tricks. I could impress you. Yes or no is easy. You know, ones and zeros, computers, that's easy. You try to compute something with a computer that simulates thought, that's difficult. And the rider is working at that in the communication with the horse in show jumping. It's not running its fastest, it's not jumping its highest, it's not turning as sharp as it can to the right or left, it's not slowing down as fast as it can and doing a sliding stop. It's all grades of that. It's balance. It's slowing down a little, not too much. Speeding up a little, not too much. Turning right fast, turning left fast, but not too much. So it's those gray areas, all that, it's the dimmer switch effect as opposed to on and off that is the real challenge for me. And that's what I particularly enjoy about this discipline.
So I put together the true story of helmets and helmet fitting. My name is Diana Whitaker, and I've been fitting and educating people for over 23 years with helmets. I don't represent any particular helmet company, which is very beneficial because it means that I can truly fit a helmet that should be fitted. We have a big problem with trend helmets where people feel that they need to have a particular helmet. Oftentimes that helmet does not fit, so I'm all about safety. So when we come to helmets, there's many misnomers. People say, well, I don't jump. 74% of all brain injuries in the equestrian world is when the horse is at a walk. 74%. Well, you know, it's okay, I can manage with this. 1 second changes your life. A helmet you should not have longer than 5 years. 5 years means that a helmet is rolled, it's dropped, so the bubbles within the foam have started to burst. It doesn't disintegrate. Foam does not disintegrate. It's the bubbles that burst. If you've had a fall, you need to replace that helmet immediately because all of the bubbles within that helmet have been compromised. The big but in this is the fact that if that helmet is not fitted properly, you can have a double hit, or the helmet is displaced or dislodged. So the actual fit of the helmet is really important. You can get a $49.95 helmet and a $1,500 helmet, but if it doesn't fit, it's not going to do its job. People say to me, which is the safest helmet on the market? The one that fits you the best, period. No compromise. When you put a helmet on, you should always put a helmet on front to back and test that it's a finger above the eyebrows. If it's got straps here, the button should be a finger below and the chin strap should be a finger tight. If it's tight, you have a hit, we come back to safety, it's going to impact the neck. And if it's loose, so your chin strap's down here, which used to be the GPA way for a long time, you have a hit, helmet is gone. I will put my hand behind the helmet, not touching it, and push on the peak. If there is no movement, that's perfect. If there's movement, that is not perfect. A helmet should feel like a strong hug around the head because that will ensure that that helmet is secure on the head. So we feel up here to make sure there's no gappages, and there are ways that you can actually pad certain areas to ensure the fit. The message here is understanding the certifications, understanding that fit is essential, and understanding looking after that helmet. People are having a better understanding the reason why a helmet, not to compromise on the fit, means that you are taking charge of your own safety. Being honest to yourself, this is one thing that I always tell people, you know, yes, you might want that helmet. How it feels on your head, the reason that I take charge of a fitting is the fact I can actually feel how that helmet fits. So to transport that to that person, that they now can feel how it goes on. If they go with the information and they try different helmets, that would be the best thing, because then they can make a decision that the helmet, oh wow, now I feel that, now I understand. So they put it on and, you know, you can do this, that doesn't really work. So it has to feel like a strong hug. So it has to feel all the way around. Some people have areas where they have pressure points here. There's ways of actually padding that where you pad behind and in front of a pressure point to take that out. If they're putting it on themselves, putting it on correctly is number one. Being honest to themselves, number two. Understanding why, if it doesn't quite fit right, don't compromise. That's another one. Safety first. The end.
This is a song we wrote in Nashville with Adam Crossley and Rick Chudikoff called I Remember You.
Perfect night, jasmine in the air. Your summer dress, moonlight in your hair. I thought I'd never see your face again. I remember
your eyes, candles in the dark, found me and stole my lonely heart, dreaming that I could play the part. I remember you, the night when all the stars were falling down. I remember you, my silence was the loudest thing around. Hey! I remember you. I imagine you were in my arms.
You were in my arms
As I watched the shadows on the wall.
was the shadow.
Then you smiled at me and took my breath away.
I remember you, the night when all the stars were falling down. I remember you, my silence was the loudest thing around. Hey! Hello, please tell me your name. It's so long ago I saw you, and I'll never be the same.
Night that all stars keep falling down. I remember you.
My silence was the